The Rock of Gibraltar. Standing at the entrance of the Mediterranean is a monolith of limestone. At 426 meters, it rises majestically over the straits. In the present day, Gibraltar is a flourishing modern city with a population of 30,000 coming and going, living their daily lives. Unbeknownst to many, a vast and complex group of caves crisscrosses the inside of the rock, formed over millennia by the elements that have battered the mighty stone. With 214 officially recorded sites, Gibraltar has one of the highest concentrations of caves in the world for its size. Full of intrigue, wonder, and natural beauty, these natural hollows offer an opening to another way of seeing the rock, an underground Gibraltar. In order to really appreciate the geology of the Rock of Gibraltar, you need to head out to sea. Today, Tyson Lee Holmes from the Gibraltar Museum and Ian Bonfiglio from the Gibraltar Museum Caving Unit embark at the marina and sail around Europa Point to survey the southern eastern cliffs of the rock. Offshore, we are offered a breathtaking view of the sheer vertical cliffs that make up the southeastern face of the Rock of Gibraltar. Having been uplifted by seismic events and shaped by the elements over millions of years.
We've just come round Europa Point now. We're on the eastern side of Gibraltar. These are the southeastern cliffs. And we can see here Bennett's Cave, which is one of the Neanderthal caves here on this side of Gibraltar. The typical shape of a sea cave is a triangular shape. It's got a wide bottom and it sort of tapers off to a point at the top. The way that these caves form is purely by wave action. So you have the whole of the Mediterranean Sea out there, and the waves are picking up in strength and in power. And they normally start off with a sort of weakness in the cave. We have limestone here, so that could be a small fracture in the cave itself, or maybe a softer part between the different layers of the limestone. And that's where it would start eroding at the sea cliff and start forming these quite massive caves. These caves and the cliffs around them are a very important site here in Gibraltar. They're actually a nominated World Heritage Site. At the moment, there's a lot of work going on in order to prepare them for that. They've given us a lot of information about Neanderthals and what they were doing here in this particular region and in southern Iberia. They're also still important today in terms of the wildlife that they sustain. Nowadays, there's a lot of seabirds around this area, crag martins inside the caves as well, obviously bats as well in this area roosting here. So as I mentioned, these are sea caves, so they're formed by the battering of the waves in the Mediterranean, but also we need to understand the context in which they're in today. They were formed at sea level, but at the time of the Neanderthals, this would have been a plain of sandy sort of terrain. We can still see the evidence of that here with these fossilized beaches. They're basically consolidated sands that have been left there since this was a plain. This is Vanguard Cave. It's immediately north to Gorham's Cave. This one also has Neanderthal evidence within it, and it's actually shedding a lot of light on that. This one's been preserved because, as you can see, the sand has been blown into it. So this would have been sand dunes that would have been in this plain out here, just outside the caves. And it's wind-blown sands, the same as the great sand dune just above Catalan Bay and Sandy Bay. It's the same type of sands that sealed this cave in. Sea caves are one of the three main types of caves in Gibraltar. I mentioned how they're formed by wave action. As you can see behind me in Boat Hoist Cave, there's also other factors that contribute to the formations of these caves. So, other than the actual obvious formation by wave action, there's also collapse, which enlarges the cave as well. There are also some mollusks that bore into the rock, make it weaker, and then allow for further collapse and further erosion from the sea. In some of these caves, like Gorham's cave, we can also describe it as a hybrid cave, in the sense that it has solutional aspects to the cave formation. There are some, not as big as we get in other solutional caves, but there are some speleotherms like stalactites and stalagmites within the cave system as well. So this is the Great Gibraltar Sand Dune, also known as the Catalan Bay Sand Dune. It's a consolidated sand dune, so it was formed during the Pleistocene when all of this area out here would have been land. That's wind-blown sand, so it's also called aeolian sand by the levanter, which is the prominent wind in this area. They would have sort of blown against the rock, and as you can see, the rock is sort of stepped in areas, and it would have just climbed the rock right up to the top. It's about 300 meters high, which is probably the largest sand dune in the world.
Tucked away at the base of these cliffs, just a few meters above present-day sea level, we find Coptic Cave, one of the many sea caves typical of these cliffs. Back at the Gibraltar Museum, Professor Clive Finlayson tells us about the ancient mariners that visited this cave and shed some light on what they left behind.
The Coptics, or Egyptian Christians, never, to our knowledge, came to Gibraltar or anywhere near this part of the world. And yet we have a cave called Coptic Cave, which is a bit of an enigma. And the reason is that in the 60s, this lamp, ceramic lamp, was found in a cave near Gorham's and Vanguard and Bennett's caves, and it was identified or misidentified as being Coptic. The lamp is in fact late Roman Christian, probably 4th or 5th century AD. It's from a period when fewer people are visiting caves such as Gorham's and so on, but occasionally curious people, travelers may have gone in. And in this little cave, somebody went in with this lamp, presumably to light up. You can see where the wick would have been, probably had some fat there. Probably with a lamp just to light up, curiosity, explore the cave like we do today, and left it behind for whatever reason. But it's clearly from the design and the way it's made, it was a Roman, a Christian Roman, from the latter part of the Roman period, a little bit before the arrival of the Vandals and the Visigoths in this part of the world. It's a utility good. It's a lamp which is for lighting. It would have been a domestic lamp, nothing particularly special about it. They would use these to light their homes or wherever they were going, or in the dark. The person who decided to explore Coptic Cave had a source of light here and used it, and then went away. But we live with the name. We live with Coptic Cave, even though the lamp which gave the cave the name has nothing to do with the Coptics.
In order to gain a closer look at Coptic Cave, senior researcher at the Gibraltar Museum, Tyson Lee Holmes, is joined by his speleologist colleagues Nicholas Ferrari and Ian Bonfiglio of the Gibraltar Museum Caving Unit, who provide their expertise in rope access. Together, they abseil down the cliffs towards the mouth of the cave one sunny morning.
This is a setup that we've prepared in order to go down to Coptic Cave. We normally refer to it as a spider anchor because it's similarity to a spider web. We've interlinked the ropes through the different straps, through different points, and we've ended in a big fat knot, and then with 2 carabiners onto the anchor plate. Then we've got 2 individual ropes. One's going to be a working line, the other's going to be a safety line. Although in caving we normally use single line, we tend to promote as much of a safety as possible, so we back up our systems. We've also created an independent backup. Even though it's created on the same line, we've attached a piece of rope here in case one of the straps should fail. Then our system would remain intact.
Coptic Cave is a sea cave just like Gorham's Cave and Vanguard Cave. It's part of the same series on this coastal shelf here. It's smaller than other sea caves we have in the area. The reason is that it gets eroded by the sea, and what you see is just the end, the last chamber of the cave. What actually sticks out from Coptic Cave as you see it from the sea is that it's actually bricked up. The entrance is completely bricked up. There were works that were being done there during the Second World War, and there's also a shaft from the top that leaves the ceiling of the cave completely open. Part of the work that the Gibraltar Museum Caving Unit also does is cleaning up the cliffs. We've been doing a lot of work here for the nominated World Heritage Sites, which is Gorham's Cave, etc., in order to clean up these cliffs and getting rid of all the refuse that's been accumulating over the years.
To see the stunning cliffs of this landscape littered with rubbish and scrap serves as a reminder that we must take greater care of our natural environment. Not only is this unsightly, but poses a danger to our wildlife, including many species of birds and marine creatures found in these habitats. The Gibraltar Museum Caving Unit have played a vital role in cleaning up remote areas around the rock to help maintain the landscape's natural beauty. A good morning's abseil and a job well done by the Caving Unit.